partner and I are renovating a farmhouse in Italy, and there's no way to say that without sounding like an asshole. You know those kind of clickbait posts on Instagram, the old cheap houses, and they're about the same price as a decent used car? Click on them. They actually exist. And I think you should get one. And then stop. Because when you get that brilliant idea of taking this perfectly serviceable, cheap, lovely house and making it pretty, in the age when Putin's war is making every brick and light bulb west of Kiev very expensive, pretty soon you are going to be as house poor there as you would be here, but in euros. And it will serve you right because you are now one of those dicks who complains about how expensive it is to renovate a farmhouse in Italy. So this whole plan to upend our life, it came from a very real need to make a change. And it also was cemented by the belief that to really test your relationship, you should buy a fixer-upper in a country where neither of you speak the language. And so it was, and then, yeah, it was into this sort of, Tuscan adjacent sun under there that we descended last spring for 5 weeks to kind of test out this new reality and build this home and then also become the digital nomads that we knew we could. So we arrived with our work and with a pair of colds that we had gotten on the plane. And it was this Dickensian chest lurgy that was so powerful, it was even more powerful than the virus that wiped out my portable hard drive, clearing it of all the work that I brought on day one. So we were really killing the whole digital nomad thing. And then luckily, we don't really believe in bad omens. We don't believe in red flags. The Italian lessons weren't going well because we are old and our brains are full. But one phrase that was kind of sticking was non è possibile. It is not possible. And it was a phrase that we heard, oh, you would like to do a seemingly simple change to the structure of your house? Non è possibile. Oh, would you like these permits to be signed and notarized in a timely manner? Non è possibile. And while they were saying non è possibile, what we were hearing is Italy says no. Yeah, that's just, and during the course of our 5-week stay, Italy was saying no to ideas great and small. And productivity had basically halted. And so one night, we were in our home. Nick was in the kitchen. It was late at night. He was trying to scrounge up some dinner. We were a couple of unproductive weeks into this trip. I mean, unproductive, unless you counted the production of copious mucus. That was still getting very produced by us. And so I was in the bathroom just jamming tissues up my nose, trying to stem the tide. And while I was in there, I heard the very unmistakable sound of a kitten in distress. And hearing this sound, wherever I am, is one of my dubious superpowers. And I firmly believe that the reason that so many sort of unmarried women of a certain age go into animal rescue is because we still have the hormones, but we have no place for all this maternal instinct to go. And just like you moms, I really feel like in an emergency, I could lift a car off of a cat. So I hear the sound, and I'm just, and I go, and I run out into the main area, and I'm in my slippers, and I got my snot noses, and I grab the key, and I say, come on, follow me. And I run out the door, and then Nick, of course, follows, because when I say, hey, follow me, that's what got him into this boondoggle in the first place. I was like, all right. So then we run out, and we follow this sound across the street, and it's into this darkened field behind the neighbor's house. And we can still hear the little guy but we can't see him. And so I'm like, all right, we'll go back and get our phones because we ran out in such a hurry. And so we go back and I pull out the key and my mind goes back to a couple of weeks before when our host let us into this Airbnb, because renting out the Airbnb was kind of the key to this whole thing. If you want to build your own home, you need to give somebody else all your money for their home. So here we are. And so when she had handed me the key, I remember noticing, well, that's an odd-looking house key. It's a fob, and it sort of looks like a car key, and I should definitely be sure to not mistake the two. So I hold up the little fob that says VW on it, and it becomes very clear that getting back into the house is non è possible. And it's 11 o'clock at night, and the building is dark, and the block is dark, and we have no phones, and we have no wallets. I have no shoes. Our dinner is sitting on the counter waiting to be prepared. Nick has to pee. We are nailing this digital nomad thing. But the one thing that we do have is the car key, and apparently a sort of Rain Man sense of direction, because Nick gets us to our friend's house, which is 10 hilly, twisty miles away. And we don't have a phone and we don't have a map, and he gets us there, and I am so turned on by this. And we get up the hill, and we're just hoping that somebody is going to be awake. And the reason we didn't stay with these friends is because they run a legitimate B&B, and they've got no room for the riffraff. And also, it's haunted, for real. Different story. So we get there, and all the lights, it's as dark as our own block, except for one lit window. And I go under that, and I'm pretty sure that that's where one of the dudes stays. And so I'm under there, and I'm in this stage whisper going, Ugo, Ugo. Nothing. But the person staying in that room now believes that the place is haunted. So Nick gets us back down the hill, and he gets us back to our place. Again, no maps, no phone, seriously, so very hot. And if we hadn't been so sick and like so hungry and so old, we would have just slept in the car and dealt with it in the morning. But we are sick and hungry and feeling very old. And so I get the bright idea that we should smash a window. Because here's the thing, we can fix it before our host even knows, because we've got an entire work crew on standby with nothing to do, because Italy keeps saying no to shit. So we can break the window and get it fixed. So I get a rock, we climb up onto our balcony, but I do know that smashing a window is gonna kind of wake up the neighborhood, not in a good way. So in your second Shawshank Redemption reference for the evening, I think, right, when a car goes by and the noise of the car, I am gonna smash the glass because we're right on the road and it's very noisy. And so I wait, and I see headlights, and I get the rock in both my hands. And with the strength and will of not a man wrongly imprisoned for murder for decades and desperate to get out, but with the strength of will of a middle-aged woman who has not eaten since noon, I smash that glass the second the car goes by, and the rock just bounces right off. I need to remind you, I am very, very hungry and very, very strong. And so we wait, and another car goes by, and I hit it even harder. It bounces right out, just not even a scratch. And I say, babe, let's find out what windows these are, because we need 16 of them in our new place. And the whole time that this is going on, we still hear the kitten, who I have already decided this kitten is part of my life, right? We've got a future with this adopted kitten. His name is Steve. And I still hear him over in the field. And I'm like, don't worry, baby, Mama's coming. But he doesn't speak English, so he just keeps on crying. And then Nick says, hey, so I am so hungry that when we do find that kitten, I'm gonna eat it. Hand to God, at that very moment, we hear the very distinct Mutual of Omaha sound of a kitten meeting its demise. In a terrible devoury fashion. Bird of prey, fox, not sure, it wasn't good. One of us is having a way worse night, and that one of us is Steve, and then there is silence. And I just hiss at Nick, and I was like, you willed this to happen. You willed this to happen. And he said, you murdered that cat the second you grabbed the car key. If you really want to test the strength of your relationship, you should lock yourself out of an Airbnb when you're very sick and very hungry and you don't have your phone. So through my tears and my snot, I remember that I think there's a hotel at the top of the hill in town. And Nick's like, but we don't have any money. I'm like, yes, but we have our looks. And we look pathetic. Who's gonna say no to this? Back in the car, up the hill, and we don't find a hotel, but we find this restaurant, and it's close to midnight, and this place is hopping, absolutely hopping. And this is the party that's been going on while we've been in our sick bed, and the maitre d' speaks English, and we explain our tale of woe, and he goes off to the back, and he comes back with a card, and I expect the card to just say no. And instead, what the card says, it's got the name of a pizzeria that's attached to a hotel. Go there, ask for Sophia. You have to follow the road to the bottom of the hill, cross the train tracks, make a right, make a left. It's behind the coffee shop. And of course, Nick finds it with absolutely no problem. I am no longer turned on by this because I'm still very mad at him for murdering Steve. So we get there, and Sophia is expecting us. She's not happy to see us. But we walk in, and she just hands us the key to a hotel room with no questions asked. And we're like, oh my God, we were so grateful. But we're also so, what's the Italian word for, you know, and she's like, ugh. And she sits us down, and she gives us a full pizza and 2 beers. And I gotta tell you, when Italy says yes, she really says yes. And so we ate, and we slept. We blew our noses. The next morning, we figured out a way to get back into our home. We got money, we went back, we paid Sophia, she seemed surprised. And then we actually went back several times because it turns out that pizza was amazing, and not just when you're desperate and hungry. It was just good, you know, by any standard, and so that became our place. And finally, Italy started saying yes to things, and work got started on the home of our dreams a week after we left. And we also just discovered a new little word. I think of Steve all the time. I really do think of. So we adopted a different Italian cat in his honor because, of course, we did. And then the new phrase that came to mind is just tutto è possibile. And I know I'm saying it wrong because, again, those lessons aren't sticking. But if you have a good partner, if you have a lot of patience, and if you have a house key that actually looks like a house key, anything is possible. Thanks.
Tracy, Rowland, everyone.